relationship, and the material from this program should not be viewed as a substitute for personal consultation with an attorney. Welcome to Talk Legal with Jeff Van Treese, who brings you all the latest news in the legal world. Jeff will be discussing a variety of legal topics with experts in the field. If you would like to ask a question or share a story on the air, please call toll-free 888-565-1470. Once again, that's 888-565-1470. Now, let's talk legal with Jeff Van Treese.
Oltmann, Flynn & Kubler, where we specialize in intellectual property, including patents, trademarks, and copyrights, as well as elder law. You can find out more by visiting us online at oltmannpatent.com. That's oltmanpatent.com. You can also view all episodes of this show on our website. I'd also like to give a shout out to our other sponsor, Fresh Start Tax. Fresh Start Tax offers a full range of accounting services, including basic tax returns, as well as assistance with tax levies, wage garnishments, and any other tax-related concern. You can find out more by visiting them online at freshstarttax.com. I'd like to thank all of our listeners, including those of you tuning in on the AM dial, as well as those watching online. If you have a question, comment, or story that you would like to share on the air, please feel free to call us toll-free at 888-565-1470. Once again, that toll-free number is 888-565-1470. We welcome your calls. I have a very special guest this evening. He's joining us via Skype. His name is Ed Ricci. He's a personal injury and consumer advocate attorney. He's up in Jupiter, Florida. He's had a very interesting career. We're going to talk about a number of topics this evening, so I'd like to welcome Ed to the show.
Thank you.
Ed, can you hear me? Yes. So, Ed, we're talking this evening about a recent article that you wrote called "The Death of the Forgiving Highway," and this article details roadway hazards, specifically trees and other plantings that pose a danger to drivers if they go off the road and careen into one of these obstructions. So I'd like you to introduce yourself and tell me a little bit about your article.
Well, my name is Ed Ricci. I've been an attorney for 40 years. Spent most of my time in matters related to safety. And one of the concerns that I have in Florida is over the last 20 years, the Florida Department of Transportation and state, local, community organizations, like say the road department for Palm Beach County, have failed to comply with a very critical part of the policy that governs how roads should be designed and built. It's known as the concept of the forgiving highway. If I was driving down the road and an animal ran out in front of me or a child ran out in front of me, I would obviously do everything I could to avoid hitting them. One of the options
Ed, I'm just going to stop you for a moment. We're having some technical difficulties, and we're going to go to a short commercial.
Okay.
This program is brought to you by Fresh Start Tax. Fresh Start Tax offers a full range of tax and accounting services, including tax return preparation and bookkeeping, as well as back taxes, wage garnishments, unfiled returns, or any other tax-related concern. Our dedicated team of tax attorneys, CPAs, and former IRS agents offer over 60 years of professional tax experience. For a free consultation, call 866-700-1040. That's 866-700-1040. You can also visit us on the web at freshstarttax.com. This program is brought to you by the law firm of Oltmann, Flynn & Kubler. Our law firm specializes in elder law and intellectual property, including patents, trademarks, and copyrights. If you would like to patent your idea, please contact our Fort Lauderdale office for a free consultation. We offer elder law services, including estate planning, long-term care planning, and preparation of healthcare documents. We strive to plan for your future needs while allowing you to retain as much dignity and independence as possible. To find out more or to make an appointment, call 954-563-4814. That's 954-563-4814. Or visit us online at oltmanpatent.com. That's oltmanpatent.com. Spokesperson, not an attorney. You're listening to Talk Legal with Jeff Van Treese, who brings you all the latest news in the legal world. If you would like to ask a question or share a story on the air, please call toll-free 888-565-1470. Once again, that's 888-565-1470. Now, back to Talk Legal with Jeff Van Treese.
And welcome to another edition of Talk Legal. We're having some technical difficulties before the break, so I'm not sure if any of that was lost. So I'm going to start over again with Ed Ricci. Ed is a consumer advocate and personal injury attorney. He specializes in a number of areas, including plaintiff's personal injury, as well as hold on, we're having more technical difficulties. We have to go to a short break. I can hear myself. Everything's echoing. All right, hopefully we'll get that under control.
This program is brought to you by the law firm of Altman, Flynn, and Kubler. Our law firm specializes in elder law and intellectual property, including patents, trademarks, and copyrights. If you would like to patent your idea, please contact our Fort Lauderdale office for a free consultation. We offer elder law services, including estate planning, long-term care planning, and preparation of healthcare documents. We strive to plan for your future needs while allowing you to retain as much dignity and independence as possible. To find out more or to make an appointment, call 954-563-4814. That's 954-563-4814. Or visit us online at oltmanpatent.com. That's oltmanpatent.com. Spokesperson, not an attorney. This program is brought to you by Fresh Start Tax. Fresh Start Tax offers a full range of tax and accounting services, including tax return preparation and bookkeeping, as well as back taxes, wage garnishments, unfiled returns, or any other tax-related concern. Our dedicated team of tax attorneys, CPAs, and former IRS agents offer over 60 years of professional tax experience. For a free consultation, call 866-700-1040. That's 866-700-1040. You can also visit us on the web at freshstarttax.com. You're listening to Talk Legal with Jeff Van Treese, who brings you all the latest news in the legal world. If you would like to ask a question or share a story on the air, please call toll-free 888-565-1470. Once again, that's 888-565-1470. Now, back to Talk Legal with Jeff Van Treese.
Yes, this evening is Ed Ricci. Ed, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you perfectly.
Okay, great. So Ed, tell us a little bit about the article that you wrote regarding roadway hazards and the Forgiving Road in Florida.
And one of the big problems we have in Florida is that a lot of towns, counties in the state want to beautify the medians. That's the divider that separates traffic on both sides of the road. And what they've been doing in the last several years is instead of planting bushes, they've been planting trees. Now, to the uninitiated, that may not seem like a big deal, but it's a huge problem because as trees grow and the root system gets stronger on the ground and the trunks get thicker, these become very, very deadly obstacles if someone goes off the road and hits it. Now, what I mentioned in my article is that there are many reasons why someone may drive into the median. A child runs out into the roadway, an animal runs out into the roadway, a piece of trash, or an object falls off the back of a truck, and the driver behind this has to swerve to avoid hitting the object with the child or the animal. And most commonly, if you're in the lane closest to the median, you will drive into the median. The problem is, over the last 20 years, instead of planting bushes, the departments, these roadway divisions of different counties in the state have been planting trees. So if you hit a tree that's got a 6-inch diameter trunk and you're going 40 miles an hour, it doesn't matter whether you have an airbag, it doesn't matter whether you're wearing your seatbelt. That tree will slice through your car like a knife going through butter. And invariably, it will either kill the driver and the passenger or cause very, very serious injury. Now, why is this happening? That's the legal issue. Why is this happening? Well, for many, many years, in fact, for approximately 100 years, there was a concept in the law throughout the United States that there weren't enough attorney generals to prosecute and enforce all regulations. So there was something called the private attorneys general, which meant you as a citizen had the right to sue your government if there was a problem that was being presented to the government and not properly being handled. Well, what Florida did starting in the late 1980s, started passing laws and regulations preventing people from suing the state for negligently designing medians. In other words, let's say in Boca Raton they wanted to make Class 1 tree north of this crossroad. They put a median in and start planting trees. Well, initially that doesn't look like anything. But go down the road a couple of years when the tree starts to grow, the trunk gets thicker, it becomes a deadly object. Now, why this is so ironic is because if they were to put a sign in the median, one way, no U-turn, speed limit 55 miles an hour, they're required by law to make sure that that sign has a breakaway bracket down at the bottom of the signpost, which when you hit it at anywhere 10 or 15 miles an hour, it collapses like a domino. It flips right down to the ground, and it doesn't cause a problem. So those are referred to as breakaway mounts, M-O-U-N-T-S. But if you drive around, and now that you know what I'm talking about, you will notice the absurdity that goes on all over the county. You will see these breakaway signposts right in front of a tree that is maybe 12 inches thick at the trunk. So the signpost breaks away, and the driver goes right into the tree trunk, and the tree trunk cuts through the car like a knife through butter. Now, what is so sad, as I mentioned, private attorneys general. Up until the early 1980s, one of these problems occurred, and it was a result of negligent design. In other words, Palm Beach County's road department started planting trees in the median instead of planting them off on the side of the road. You had the right to sue the government. You had the right to accuse them and try to prove in court that the design was negligently done. By the late 1980s and early 1990s, the state of Florida, by case law, but judges started making rulings, and the legislators started passing laws that says no. If the design is bad, you can't sue. You can only sue if we negligently maintain the shoulder of the median. In other words, if we don't cut the grass on time, if we let the bushes get too big and we don't trim them back, and that contributes to an accident, you can sue the state of Florida or Palm Beach County or the city of Boca Raton, whoever's responsible, for not maintaining the area properly, but you can't sue them for designing it improperly. So we have this absurd situation now where we know what's going to happen. We know these trees are going to continue to grow. They get bigger and thicker, and the trunks are going to get wider. You can't sue because if they put the trees in as part of a design program, they have immunity. On the other hand, if they don't maintain it properly, as I said earlier, and that contributes to causing injury, you can sue them for that. So what I say here is we are facing now what I call the death of the forgiving highway. Now, why do I call it the death of the forgiving highway? Well, it's a little history. When President Eisenhower was in Washington in the White House back in the early 1950s, he ordered a study on a national basis to find out how dangerous our roads were. And it was staggering. 55,000 people a year were dying in roadway accidents in the United States, and another 2 million more were suffering very serious injury, and in some cases quadriplegia, paraplegia. So the interstate highway system, the I-95, the certain roads that go around Atlanta, that go around Miami, go around New York, usually have three numbers to them, 495, 695. When that system was being built, the federal government insisted that there could be no trees in the median, only bushes, and no trees could be planted on the shoulder of the road unless it was at least 30 feet away from the edge of the highway. So if you get on I-95 in Boca Raton, or you take the expressway out to the airport, You will be surprised. You won't find any trees in the median, but you'll find them on the shoulder. Because the federal government said, hey, Florida, if you want us to pay for 90% of the road construction, then you are going to have to comply with our regulations. And one of our biggest regulations is that you have to design and build medians that are forgiving. So if someone goes off the road for whatever reason, the punishment is not death going onto the shoulder. The punishment should be your front bumper gets damaged or your hood gets damaged.
And like you discussed, Ed, in your article, there's a lot of legitimate reasons why someone might have to veer off the road. For example, trying to avoid hitting a child that might jump out into the road, or a pedestrian, or something like that.
The other thing that's happened is, unfortunately, in the last 20 or 30 years, Americans, as they become more politically conservative, have become more socially conservative. What I mean by that is a lot of people will tell you now, they'll say, well, you go into the median, that's your fault. You become paralyzed, you die, that's your fault. So the notion of forgiveness, which is a great concept in all religions and in all social constructs, is basically being ignored. So what the press likes to do is, let's say there's a drunk driver, Goodman case, which everybody knows about. Instead of hitting the car and causing the kid to drown, Goodman goes into a median and he hits a tree. They would say, Mr. Goodman, you deserve to suffer injury. You deserve to die because you are a drunk driver. It's your fault. But the problem with that, it ignores all the other people who have to go into the median to avoid, as I said earlier, a child, an animal, or an object in the roadway. So the concept of a forgiving highway is dead. Now, what can we do about it? Very little we can do about it, unfortunately, because as private citizens, we cannot force the legislature to change the laws, and we cannot force the road department to change their practices. So the only thing that we can do is what we're doing here. We need to educate the public, we need to educate the road department that they are not following the mandatory guidelines that they're supposed to follow. And I mentioned in the article, regulations and the standards are in what's called the Manual of Uniform Minimum Standards of Design, Construction, and Maintenance of Streets and Highways, commonly known as the Florida Green Book. The Florida Green Book was first published in 1977, and it's gone through multiple revisions. The most recent edition is May 2007. I have a copy of that in front of me right now, and I would like to just quote from the policy section of the manual.
And this book that you're referring to establishes minimum standards that for construction and design of roadways. However, like you said earlier, due to sovereign immunity, there's no incentive to actually abide by these requirements.
Right, so let me read you one line. Design of roadways should be based upon the idea of reducing consequences to errant vehicles and their occupants. In other words, we should design these roadways so that vehicles that go off the road, go into the median, or go on the shoulder, have time to slow down and not be involved in serious accidents. The problem with planting trees in the median is we are creating the obstacles that will lead to serious injury or death. Now, it's an interesting thing. In addition to building the interstate highway system starting in the 50s, in the early 60s, the insurance industry created what's called the Insurance Institute for Highway Safety. It's located right outside Washington, D.C. And a lot of times when you watch the news and you see video of car crashes, and they point out which car is better than the other, that's done by the insurance industry political group, because it's in the best interest of insurance companies to reduce the number of accidents, because then they have to pay out less money to victims. So they are strong supporters of the notion of getting trees out of medians, because it saves them money, obviously, and to be fair to them, it reduces the number of injuries and deaths, which is a goal that we would like to see continue in the United States. So,
and I have to wonder if this is part of the campaign for public relations that the insurance company and other big business groups launched after the infamous McDonald's coffee cup case, to try to paint many lawsuits, or the majority of lawsuits, as being frivolous, and to try to reduce sympathy on behalf of the public for people that have been injured and seek redress in court.
You're absolutely correct. What they have done is they've tried to focus on the amount of money that the victim gets or what the legal fees were for the representation, rather than looking at the other end of the spectrum, saying lives were saved, and you don't have a situation where not only were lives saved, but the medical care costs have gone down. When you have 55,000 people dying a year and 2 million people suffering serious injuries, insurance companies have to pay out a lot of money, particularly for medical care. So while it is true, let's say, in the coffee case out in New Mexico, the hot coffee, some people thought that was silly. But the point was that McDonald's, as you probably know, had over 900 complaints that the coffee was too hot. What people did not know is that McDonald's offered free refills. So to discourage people from getting a free refill, they used to keep the coffee at 95 degrees Fahrenheit. If you sip a cup of coffee at 95 degrees Fahrenheit, you will burn your tongue.
Right, and of course the other thing about that case that many people don't know is that the plaintiff was an elderly woman who was a passenger, not a driver, in a parked car when she spilled the coffee on herself. Very different from the image that many people have when they think of that case.
Interestingly, the lawyer who defended McDonald in that case had litigated a case against me, so I knew exactly what was going on. I had been involved with that law firm on a prior occasion, and I knew what their philosophy was. Their philosophy was if they lost the case, they wanted to lose big, so that their client in McDonald's, or in the other case I had against the aircraft manufacturer, they could go to the press and they could paint the plaintiff as the bad guy rather than themselves. But
Very interesting. I'd like to turn our attention to the recent case that came out last week with the grand jury deciding not to indict the officer in the Michael Garner case. We had a special on this show on that topic last evening, and I wanted to get your thoughts, Ed, on the what now appears to be a civil action for a civil rights violation that is likely to be brought by the family of Eric Garner. And it now appears that the commissioner in New York City has expressed an interest in possibly settling that case. I was wondering what your thoughts on that were.
Well, I have several thoughts. My first thought is the protests that we're seeing around the country over the Garner case and the case in Missouri really reflect a much deeper problem. No one wants to admit it in public, but there's still a lot of racial bias in this country. I saw the video of what was going on in Staten Island, and the only thing that Mr. Garner was being charged with was selling cigarettes without paying the tax on them. And this has been going on for years. You have people who will drive down to the Carolinas, they will load their trunk up with cigarettes because there's no tax on them in the Carolinas, then they come back and they sell them in big cities. And I think a pack of Marlboro in New York City right now goes for $6 or $7 a pack. So this guy was making money by selling cigarettes illegally. He wasn't doing anything violent. And to engage him in the kind of chokehold that they put on him was ridiculous. From the start, it was ridiculous. The guy should have just been charged. He should have been served with court papers. And then if he didn't show up, send the sheriff out and stay him in New York and have the sheriff's office go out and arrest him. But when you look at this and you see it was white on black, we have to recognize that there are deeper issues in these cases. The Ferguson case is another perfect example. And the fact that these two grand juries in these two states came down with their decisions within a couple of weeks of each other, I think just heightened the realization on the part of many, many people, myself being one of them, that these problems have much, much deeper roots. If the police officers on Staten Island had been black, and were going after Mr. Garner, I think you would have seen a very different videotape. The case out in Ferguson was a situation where there were black police officers dealing with the young man. I think you would have seen different outcomes. So I have read the transcripts that have been made public of the grand jury investigation, and what they were looking for there was to see whether or not there was enough evidence to indict the police officers. I don't think that's the issue. The big social issue is whether or not our police departments relate correctly to subgroups of our society. And when you have a town that's got 70% black residents, and then you only have one black police officer, or a police department that's going to have 20 or 30 police officers, you know there's a problem. The problem is compounded because a number of years ago, we used to have quota requirements, so that the number of black police officers would reflect the percentage of the population. But the U.S. Supreme Court in the last couple of years has been coming down with consistent rulings that those kind of quota systems, and even in universities, are no longer necessary because there's no sufficient evidence of racial bias. It's just nonsense. It's still there.
Ed, we have about a minute left. I just want to make sure that that you have a chance to tell our listeners how they can contact you in the event that they're in need of your services. I'd also like to draw attention to the fact that you represent people whose loved ones have had their graves desecrated in cemeteries as well.
The easiest way to reach me is by email, and my email address, I think, is one of the easiest. It's @edricci@edricci.law. Easy enough.
Great, and they can also visit you online at your website, which I believe is edriccilaw.com, right?
Correct. Correct. You can reach me either way, and I respond to all inquiries, and I do it as a public service.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Ed. I'd like to thank my guest this evening, Ed Ricci. You've been listening to Talk Legal. Tune in next week, Tuesday night from 6 to 6:30, where my guest will be Warren Redlick, and we'll be discussing the year 2014 in review, going over some of the legal news and stories that have happened in the past year. So thank you so much for joining us. This is Jeff Van Treese from Talk Legal, and have a great evening.
Thank you, Jeff. I appreciate being with you.
Thank you for listening to Talk Legal with Jeff Van Treese. Tune in next week for more insightful and exciting information about the law. You can contact Jeff by email at jvt2law@gmail.com or give him a call at 561-789-6866. That's 561-789-6866. The content of the preceding program, including all statements from the host and guests, is to provide general information and commentary about the law. Under no circumstances does any statement made by a host or guest to a caller or listener constitute legal advice or the formation of an attorney-client relationship, and the material of this program should not be viewed as a substitute for personal consultation with an attorney. The opinions